Today, we're diving deep into tattooed warriors of ancient Philippines, a real story that rewrites everything we thought we knew about our beginnings. When Spanish conquistadors first arrived in the Visayan Islands in the 1500s, they encountered something that left them absolutely stunned. Warriors covered head to toe in intricate tattoos. Not just a few markings, but full-body art that transformed these men into living canvases of warfare and honor. The Spanish were so shocked by what they saw that they named these people the Pintados, which means the painted ones. But these weren't just decorations. Every single mark on a Pintados warrior's body told a story of courage, of battle, of survival, and of status in society. This is the incredible tale of the most feared warriors in pre-colonial Philippines. In the islands of the Visayas, particularly in Cebu, Bohol, Leyte, and Samar, tattoos were not optional. They were essential. They were the resume of a warrior, the proof of his worth and the measure of his manhood. A man without tattoos was considered inferior, almost invisible in society. But a fully tattooed warrior, he was royalty on the battlefield. The process of becoming a Pintados warrior was brutal and sacred. Young boys would dream of the day they could earn their first tattoo. But you couldn't just walk up and ask for one. You had to prove yourself worthy. You had to demonstrate acts of extreme bravery in battle. You had to kill enemies. You had to defend your community. Only then would the master tattoo artist, known as the Mambabatok, consider marking your skin. The tattooing process itself was a test of endurance. There were no modern tattoo machines, no numbing agents, no pain relief. The Mambabatok used thorns from citrus trees or sharpened bamboo sticks dipped in soot, mixed with water or sugarcane juice. They would tap these needles into the skin thousands of times, creating intricate geometric patterns, symbols of animals, and representations of their victories. The pain was excruciating. Warriors would sit for hours, sometimes days, as their skin was repeatedly punctured. But showing pain was shameful. A true warrior would endure in silence, proving his strength not just in battle, but in his ability to withstand suffering. The designs were never random. Each pattern held deep meaning. Certain symbols represented specific achievements. A warrior who had killed an enemy in single combat would earn particular marks. Someone who had led successful raids would receive different patterns. The more tattoos you had, the more respect you commanded. By the time a warrior reached full maturity, his entire body could be covered, from his face down to his toes, creating an intimidating armor of ink. The most elite warriors had their faces tattooed. This was the ultimate status symbol. Facial tattoos meant you were among the bravest of the brave, someone who had proven themselves in the most dangerous situations. When enemies saw a warrior with a fully tattooed face, they knew they were facing someone who had survived countless battles, someone who feared nothing. If you're amazed by our ancestors, the Pintados, tattooed warriors of ancient Philippines, hit that like button. Drop a comment about your favorite fact, but Pintados tattoos weren't just for men. Women also received tattoos, though theirs served different purposes. Female tattoos were primarily decorative, symbols of beauty and status. The daughters of chiefs and nobility would have elegant patterns on their arms and hands. These tattoos made them more desirable for marriage and showed their high social standing. However, some accounts mention that certain women warriors, those who fought alongside men, also earned battle tattoos. The Spanish chronicles provide us with vivid descriptions of these warriors. Antonio Pigafetta, who sailed with Magellan, wrote about encountering these tattooed fighters. He described them as fierce, skilled with weapons, and absolutely terrifying to behold. Their entire bodies were decorated with what looked like elaborate armor made of ink. In battle, this psychological warfare was incredibly effective. Imagine facing an army of warriors whose bodies advertise their kills, their fearlessness, and their complete dedication to combat. The Pintados didn't just look intimidating, they were genuinely formidable fighters. They mastered various weapons, including the campelan, a long single-edged sword, and the kris, a distinctive wavy blade. They were expert sailors who conducted raids across islands, and they were known for their hit-and-run tactics that confused and devastated their enemies. Their reputation spread across Southeast Asia. Even neighboring kingdoms feared the tattooed warriors of the Visayas. The tattoos also served a spiritual purpose. Ancient Filipinos believed that tattoos had magical protective properties. They thought the ink created a spiritual armor that would protect warriors in battle and guide them safely to the afterlife. The more tattoos you had, the more favor you carried with the spirits and ancestors. This belief made warriors fight even more courageously. Knowing their tattoos connected them to supernatural protection. Interestingly, the tattoo culture created a clear social hierarchy. Warriors with full-body tattoos sat at the top. They received the best portions of food during feasts, they had priority in speaking during councils, and they had first choice of wives. Men with partial tattoos ranked according to how much of their body was covered. Those without tattoos were at the bottom, often performing menial tasks and receiving little respect. This system motivated young men to prove themselves in battle, creating a warrior culture that kept communities strong and defended. If you're still here, you're one of the rare few who truly care about the real origins of tattooed warriors of ancient Philippines, not just the visuals, but the truth behind them. The Spanish colonization dramatically changed everything. Catholic missionaries viewed tattoos as pagan and demonic. They actively discouraged and eventually banned the practice. They taught converted Filipinos that tattoos were sinful marks that would condemn their souls. Within a few generations, the ancient art of pintados tattooing nearly disappeared. The Spanish successfully erased what had been one of the most defining characteristics of Visayan identity. But the legacy of the Pintados never truly died. Stories passed down through generations kept the memory alive. In recent decades, there's been a powerful revival of interest in traditional Filipino tattoos. Modern Filipinos, especially those interested in reclaiming their pre-colonial heritage, have sought out the few remaining traditional tattoo artists. The most famous is Wang Ordogay of Kalinga, who learned the ancient hand-tapping technique and has tattooed thousands of people, keeping the tradition breathing. Young Filipinos today wear Pintados-inspired tattoos as symbols of cultural pride and connection to their warrior ancestors. These modern interpretations blend traditional patterns with contemporary designs, creating a bridge between ancient and modern Filipino identity. International tattoo artists have also taken interest, recognizing the historical and artistic significance of Filipino tribal tattoos. The story of the Pintados reminds us that pre-colonial Philippines was not primitive or uncivilized as colonial narratives suggested. These were sophisticated societies with complex social structures, artistic traditions, and warrior codes that rivaled any civilization. The Pintados proved that ancient Filipinos were fierce, proud, and culturally rich people who commanded respect across Southeast Asia. Every tattoo told a story of bravery. Every pattern represented honor earned through action. Every mark was a permanent reminder that Filipino warriors feared nothing and no one. The Pintados were not just tattooed men, they were living legends whose legacy continues to inspire Filipino pride today. Our ancestors' stories don't end here, they're just waiting to be rediscovered. Smash that like button, share your thoughts in the comments for the next epic chapter of our forgotten history.